Good morning and welcome to another ChinWag with me, Richard Vobes, on the 12th of August 2022. Lovely, beautiful, sunny day. Hence the summery shirt, the summery look. You've got to get into it, haven't you? Why not? We must embrace it because we're in the middle of August and it means September is on its way. Well, that's the autumn and then it's going to change. So make the most of it. Why don't you? Before we move on, two things. Still getting some of the comments that you write go into the approval bin. I don't know why that is, because I've put it on the less sort of thing to approve it, but they, for some reason, they still go in. So each morning I go through and plop them back. So hopefully they will be there if you wrote them up recently. Also, second thing, a big thanks to a lady called Louise, who is a viewer. I don't know if she views this show or the Bald Explorer, but I just wanted to say thank you. She posted some maps, some street maps, some old street maps from, I don't know, the 70s or 60s or something. Well, more like the 70s and 80s, through my door. I just wanted to say thank you for that. It's very nice. I might go down and explore some of that in the week. Yes, so that was that. Brilliant. Now, today, are you somebody who does things off the cuff, spontaneously? Are you somebody who is who just has no idea what you're necessarily going to do and have that sort of feeling of, oh, do you know what? I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get in the car and drive there. Or are you somebody who's a bit of a stuck in the mud? Somebody who's stuck in their ways that just does the same thing day after day after day? Or are you a mixture of both? Interested to know about that because I find that I very easily form habits and then they become a lifestyle. And before you know it, that's what you do. And in a way, my fear is to become a fuddy-duddy. Somebody who does the same old thing and, oh, no, I won't do that. Oh, no, I won't do that. Not brave enough. And I think through my life, although you might think I'm a bit effervescent and I do some crazy things from time to time, I do think that actually I am somewhat a bit of a, not a fuddy-duddy as such, but somebody who is got his own habits. For example, I come into the studio now each day and I do this. Well, this is part of my work, so that's right. Well, at least I'm trying to make it my work, trying to earn a living and such like. It is sort of working, so we're persevering with it. But other things, things that have almost no reason or no rhyme or whatever. I read an article the other day saying how it's great for the mind to sort of stave off any of those sort of, what would you call them, dementia type illnesses and all that, but also just to keep you young and to keep the mind active and open to things rather than being closed. Because I think we do get a bit closed off as we get older. I know that I'm closed off with some of my ideas, and some of my ideas have been with me since I was, I don't know, back in the early days, in the 20s, when I'm forming my mind about things, and you get a little bit closed off. And you sort of go, no, that's not my thing, really. I don't do that. Well, and I started to think, why don't you do that, Mr. Vobes? Why? Why not open yourself up to being a bit more spontaneous, a bit more crazy, and a bit more, not crazy necessarily, but, just go with the flow a bit more. And I thought, well, maybe that's what I should be doing. But what about you? Do you find that difficult? I think it is a difficult thing. Maybe as you get older, I don't know, I'm thinking about this off the cuff here, but maybe as you get older, it goes two distinct ways. One, things get a bit harder to be more spontaneous because you are stuck on your ways. Or two, it becomes easier to become more spontaneous because you've lived enough to think, I don't give a monkey's what other people think. So if you start, I don't know, say you started doing Pilates or karate, or you started to go climbing mountains, or you started going to nightclubs, or you became a train driver, or you did something, and you're in your 50s and 60s or something, and you just started to do something, and people are going, oh, I don't know whether that's a good idea at your age. And I just think, well, maybe when you get to that age, you just think, do you know what? I'll do what I bloody well like, for one thing. And also, who are you to tell me what's right? In other words, we start to not care what other people think. That might be a topic all on its own. Do you care about what other people think? But spontaneousness. Are you somebody... Now, I went for a walk, as I do, and this is, the old fuddy-duddy thing. I was editing yesterday another video for the Bald Explorer. It was quite involved and got into it. And I edit in this very room that I'm sitting in here. Over the other side of the room is my edit desk. and I sit there and I edit, and it's, up against the screen and think this shot and that shot, and it can be quite time consuming depending on the what was shot. Other times it can be quite easy, and then I'm selecting music and running it, and does that work? Well, I think that works, and I've got too much material, I'm gonna have to cut some bits out. How do I make this a bit more pacey? Is this a bit boring? Maybe it is, maybe I could do that. So you're making all these millions of decisions and sitting there, and I do this very regularly, as you would probably guess. And so to break it up, because I'm not out and about, and it's a very hot day, and it was lovely yesterday down here in Worthing in West Sussex, where I am, at the foot of the South Downs, the edge of the English Channel, I thought I'd go down to the seafront and just have a little walk around the pier and all of that, which I do quite regularly. Well, I got down there and I was standing on the pier and I was looking across at the sea, and it was in. And I just thought, it looks so inviting. And I had no towel, I had no trunks, swimming costume or anything like that. And I thought, blow this, I'm going to go for a swim. I don't care. I'm just going to go for a swim. Spontaneous decision. I didn't come back. I didn't look for a towel. I didn't go, I haven't got any trunks. I just walked down to the beach. I found a little secluded area. Not secluded because it's not packed, but there were a number of people. I found a bit that was less busy. I went and had a quick paddle. Oh my goodness, the water was lovely and warm. So I slipped off my shirt, slipped off my trunks, and I only had my pants on. But I was right close to the water, and I got into the water very quickly, so it didn't upset anybody, viewing, oh my God, look at that bloke. And I had a swim, and it was lovely. It was divine. It was freeing. It was very freeing. And it just dawned on me how sometimes we stay in this safe place, and we don't do things that we feel not brave enough, and we're not spontaneous, and we restrict ourselves. But it might be that we do things spontaneously in a different way. I mean, we may be spontaneous and go, oh, do you know what, I'll buy another bottle of wine tonight. I wasn't going to, but I will. I'm not talking about that sort of, things that you've done before, and it's like, oh, yes, I wasn't going to have a drink, but I will tonight. But if that's something regularly that you do, that's not really spontaneous. Or I might just take the dog a different walk tonight. Instead of going round the block that way, I'll go. I'm not really talking about that specifically, although if you do that, then that is at least something. It is just doing that sort of very random thing. So I had no intention of going for a swim, and I ended up having a wonderful swim. And then, of course, I had no towel, but the day was warm, and I came back, lay on the beach for a few minutes, and then I still had wet underpants on, and I thought, I'm going to have to get rid of those, not get rid of them, as in throw them in the bin. I just have to whip them off and put my shorts back on and then head home. What do they call it? Commando style. So don't tell anybody. This is private information. You don't need to know that. So there was nobody sort of in the locality. Off they came. Up came the others. And once I was dry, and home I was. And I felt liberated. I felt I'd done something. I know it's the most stupidest thing, and I'm sure that you lot are far more brave and spontaneous than I am. I'm sure you are. But it's that thing, and you think, I want to do more of that. So then when I was shopping, I knew I had to go and buy some various bits and bobs, and I thought, I need some toothpaste. And do you know, I'm one of those people, buys the same old toothpaste or same range of toothpaste all the time. And I thought, no, let's see if there's something a bit unusual. I mean, why would there be? But I'd never used it before. I'd never seen it before. It looked old-fashioned and a bit mad. So this isn't really to advertise anything particularly, but I found a packet of this, which I've no idea how you pronounce it. It comes out pink instead of white, and it has a sort of very dental sort of flavour to it. And you think, oh, maybe this is actually doing something. An old-fashioned original toothpaste, it says on there. But that's not really, it's not the product. It's not the fact that it's toothpaste. It's just the fact it was something different. And I was feeling, again, shaking things up a bit. Which now, of course, if people know you and you start doing some sort of shaking things up a bit spontaneous, they might think that you're a bit screwy in the head or you've gone mad or something. But, maybe I have. Maybe I have. But anyway, I want to know, are you somebody who does something very spontaneous, off the cuff, or would you like to, but you're too nervous, you're too shy? What will people say? Or can I get away with it? Could I wear that outfit? Is that too gregarious? Is it too much? Should I do something mad and jolly, or should I just stay where I am? Be interested in your comments on that, so do let me know. Right, let's have a look at some of the comments from yesterday and any other days that come around, and see what people are saying. So, as I say, apologies if your comments don't appear immediately, but I do try to get them on a little bit later on. So starting here, Joe Gaming Girly says, this is about, do you enjoy your own company? She says, I love spending time with my partner and going out for long walks, but when I'm on my own, I also get on with many hobbies and projects and have jobs around the flat. I love peace and quiet and a cup of tea, and I enjoy making jewellery. I also love watching videos early in the morning with a cuppa before I go to work. And I think that's lovely. That's nice to have a sort of a bit of a social thing and a bit of a personal thing. And it's really good, I think, if you are able to enjoy your own company, not necessarily all the time so that you become a hermit. I don't think I was trying to get at that. Louise Lage says, I almost exclusively watch YouTube. Now, what is this about? This is probably about how you use YouTube. Yes, that's right, from a couple of days ago. She says, I almost exclusively watch YouTube and not any TV. I will scan for any notifications from the channels I subscribe to, and if I don't see where they should subscribe, and if I don't see them where they should be, I see. If they haven't popped up, I get what you mean. Sorry about that. I use YouTube for watching some of my subscribed channel updates and even for a laugh at some of the nonsense that some creators produce. Some content is really bad, and I won't subscribe because I won't support lazy, poor-produced channels. And good for you. Absolutely. That's what people like me like to hear. Hang on, let's have a slurp of coffee. And that was a slurp, wasn't it? Thank you, Louise, for that. Julia Hartley, the lovely Julia, says, having time alone is part and parcel of any good, healthy relationship. I don't really get time alone, though, because I'm either with my kids or, she says, she's with me. Yes, and I completely get that at the moment. Poor old Julia is very much with the kids more than anything, and getting a bit of time out, even if it's just with me making videos. And I'm, quite busy and stuff and trying to run the channel as well. Between all of that, it's very difficult time to get all the time that you want with each of these different factions. So I know exactly what you mean. It's tough, but at least the kids do grow up over time. It takes a bloody long time. And I tell you, if they live in your house and they stay in your house, as in at the moment, then, and I mean in current times, there's a lot of people who still live at home because they just cannot afford, or the opportunity to move out is not there. And that's a good thing in some ways, and it's a rough thing in others. I mean, I went through that whole experience with my kids. They slowly went, and finally my son Billy went. But we had a lovely relationship, or at least I like to think we did. I mean, it's always difficult living with your parents, and I know that I'm, as I say, fuddy-duddy, probably a bit dull, and completely different generation by default. And so now they've all got their own lives, and they're independent, and they no longer need their dad, apart from when things go wrong. Malice in Punderland says, "Hi Richard, not commented for a while, but I do watch around 90% of your content." Well, that's very kind of you. Not asking you to watch all of it by any means. If anybody watches any of it, I'm very happy. Actual topic doesn't matter to me too much, as I invest in some YouTubers and their personality. Marvellous. I regularly watch you with several others, and actually prefer real life on YouTube than to television. Yes, it's just the trouble with television is you never get any sort of real life. They call this reality TV, but it's not real at all because it's all highly manufactured. Whereas, of course, YouTube will give you an insight into real people and what they're doing. It's interesting. I think that must be a primeval thing, isn't it? That we do like to have a nose and see what people are up to. In the past, perhaps we were all curtain twitchers, or when we lived in a big community, we could see exactly what other people are up and going, oh no, look, yes, he's out there with his spear. He wants to make out that he's the leader, the big chief, was he's going to go and get another bison on the end of that piece of stick. Oh yes, it's good to see. I don't know, maybe. Shelley T says, I love my own company. I can entertain myself quite happily. I do find that when I am in a large group of people, though, I feel very drained afterwards and that I need some time alone to regenerate. Yes, I think you're right there. I very much enjoy my own company. I enjoy much smaller one-to-ones with people. One or two people. It's great. In a big group, it's nice. We do our Bald Explorer walk, of course, and that's very nice. And sometimes I know, because I'm an entertainer-y sort of person, I feel that I need to show off a bit and be silly or to muck about, which isn't really very often the real me anyway. But I think there's something in me. There's a certain part of me that needs to do that and express myself. Stuart in Guildford says, like others on here, I need a good dollop of time spent on my own each week just to exhale, for a want of a better word. I like that. However, I actually fear too much time on my own. I'm scared of my own deep thinking, energy and creativity. Given too much isolation, I think I'd quite quickly turn into a mad professor. Yes, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Nobody really wants to go into complete isolation, which is why, of course, that is a punishment, or a severe punishment for criminals, if you are put into severe isolation or total isolation, because I think then the mind does go a bit mad. And it's finding that balance of having that time alone where you can potter about and just be with your thoughts and inspirations and aspirations and your own spontaneity, as we were talking at the beginning, and indeed there's times when it's just great to give yourself to others, as it were, and engage with them and have lovely conversations or share walks or whatever it is. Ingram Carr says, on the one hand, I'm very much interacting with people just as well because I've been selling cars for over 30 years. Yes, I suppose you can't really sell vehicles one-to-one if you're not actually engaging with somebody. On the other hand, I'm privately not a sociable person at all. I enjoy my own company. I go travelling for 3 months in the Outer Hebrides a few years ago, leaving my partner behind and just going with my dog. Nothing against my loving partner, but it is the best thing I've ever done. And don't tell your partner that, of course. No, but I absolutely get that. And sometimes, if you're in a sales job or an entertainer or something, and you have to be a bit outgoing and you force yourself to be, up when you may be feeling a bit down because it's your job and that's the nature of the things, whether you're walking out on stage, performing ballet or something like that, or whether you're just in the sweet shops trying to sell somebody a quarter of sherbet lemons. After all of that, it is nice to go, I've had my day of interactions. I'm just going to chill out, do my own thing. And I think it is obviously a balance, which is very nice. Outdoors loving Kent girl says, have you ever done a video on how much you earn from YouTube? This is about being on your own. She says, I've seen people who put out so much content who make a pittance, and then others who put out an effort in their videos and make a fortune. Must be on the views and the likes. Well, yes, I haven't. I don't think. I've often mentioned how impecunious I am in the income that comes with YouTube. When I was doing corporate stuff, for instance, and doing the entertainment business, the earnings were reasonable for the amount of work. Well, actually, for the amount of work I did, the earnings were extremely good. But I wasn't necessarily working all the time. If I was working, say, 4 or 5 days a week on the sort of rates that I was charging, I'd be a very rich man indeed. Well, not very rich, but I would be very comfortable, let's put it like that. But when I was in the entertainment business, I would be working in a 30-day month, let's say, 12 days, which was quite a lot, really, depending on the season. Some days, Christmas time, you'd be working every day and perhaps 2 or 3 shows a day. In the corporate world, I was really only working 2 or 3 gigs a month, but they would be quite lucrative, and then I would be spending some time editing. But I was never a very good salesperson, and I was never ringing people up going, "Oh, hello, I make videos. Would you like to employ me?" I hated all that. I hated that pushing of myself, because it's that thing. That's why, as an entertainer, you have an agent, because it's the agent's job to go, "Oh yes, that Richard Vobes, he's hilarious, he's very fun, he's very good, you'll enjoy him, he's lovely, easy to get on with," and all the rest of it. But if you say that yourself, "Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, I'm very good, I'm engaging and entertaining and great fun, and you'll love it," it sounds very big-headed. And of course, you're going to say it, aren't you? You're not going to say, "Oh well, I'm that wonderful entertainer who's rubbish. I can't make an audience smile. I'm okay. I'm mediocre. I'm adequate for your event." Oh right, I'm not really. So it's good to have somebody else promote you. So I've never really been good at promoting myself, really, except in funnily enough, in these YouTube channels and just trying it out. So, but the answer to the question is not really. I think if one was proudly, if one had worked really hard and the reward was justified, then I think it would be nice to do that. And some people manage to do that. But one can still work really hard, and as you say, not very much comes in. And it's a strange thing. Lots of people have theories. I think Steve Pilfold had a theory about it, or whatever, and it works for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody. There's no one but I think if you don't make YouTube videos for a living, you can, of course, think you know the answers. It's when you actually do it, there's a whole load more to it than you're not really realising. But, each to their own. Carl Chapman says, "Hi, Richard. Be careful with being on your own. Comments..." What? Hang on, I'll read that again slowly. "Hi, Richard. Be careful with the being on your own comments around the lovely Julia." Oh, I see what you're saying. As a little joke. Yes, of course. And, no one wants to be alone when they've got the lovely Julia in their life. Of course, one can absolutely understand that. Keith Henley, and that goes for anybody with a partner. But, like Ingram Carr said, sometimes you just got to take yourself off. And maybe we'd have this is another subject that we can talk about in relationships. Because for me, while I'm in a relationship, I'm all for it, but I think because I've been on my own quite a bit and been a bit of a loner, I still need and desire that sort of, I don't know what you call it, well, we talked about this yesterday, didn't we? That being in your own company and having time for yourself. Now, some people may think that's very selfish. They may say that, well, when you're in a relationship, you've got to be in that relationship like, joint at the shoulders, like conjoinal twins, however you pronounce it. And that may be right for some people, but everybody is so different. And it's trying to find what works for both. And sometimes you think you've got it all working and it's gelling, but sometimes it just isn't. And you need to have the respect to be able to say to the other person, look, it is great, but I need a little bit of space, or not. I'm not having, I need more attention. I think everybody is going to be very different, and it's part of the joy of discovering that sort of thing. Anyway, I mentioned that. Keith Henley says, "I look forward to having no people talking to me my time." Yes, I agree with you. And Anthony Conti says again, "Please have a doctor check your throat." Oh, right. Thanks very much. It's pretty much gone now, the old throat clearing, and I knew it would. It was just the lingering thing. It's funny, if you do something on YouTube, and it doesn't matter what, you have a little ailment. Of course, because especially if you're doing real lifey type stuff, and people see you, and this is not meant in any bad way to you, Anthony, or anything, but I do get this quite a lot. A lot of people, it's like if I go out into the sun, a lot of people will go, "Oh, Richard, you're in the sun, wear a hat." Or it doesn't really matter. Everybody wants to give you their advice, particularly about health. And it's very nice, and I take it with the pinch of salt that one has to when the world and his brother is telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing. And I think also you gauge an idea, or if you're awake to yourself and your body, and you're very familiar with yourself, you have an idea when things aren't right. Maybe that's another subject that we could talk about. Do you know when you're ill? But thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. And I think we're about there on this. Mark Burgess, let's do dear old Mark Burgess here. He says, I've lived on my life very much as a loner, never had close circles of best buddies or special friends to share deepest secrets with. I did wonder, will I die a virgin? No significant other or offspring, but luckily I did at least lose my virginity. But the rest I doubt will have, I feel. Well, Mark, that's a... Gosh, that's a very... I mean, I didn't pre-read that, so you hit me on the spot with that one. That's a very revealing and honest situation. But the thing is, the best way to think about these things is to... I mean, we could do... I'm not a relationship counsellor or anything like that. My goodness, I've had relationships that have not worked or anything like that. But you try. You just try your best. So my thoughts on your comment there is that you've got to, it can all seem gloomy and bad and not working. And very often it can. I mean, when I spoke about this before, when I lost my eye, there were times when I was that bad, I was or pretty much suicidal, and that's no exaggeration. Very easy to exaggerate that, but I wasn't really exaggerating, because if I hadn't had kids, I probably wouldn't be here. I had 4 years of this and 10 weeks of pain, severe pain, 24 hours, and I couldn't get rid of it. And but I also refused to go on very heavy painkillers because of the way they drugged you up. And I was really at rock bottom. But life is never the same. It's not this one thing that goes on like it can be. And this comes back to the spontaneity thing that I'm talking about. And sometimes we find ourselves in a hole and we don't always know how to look out. And everything seems like, oh, I'm never going to get this or I'm never going to get that. And sometimes it does take, you brought this back actually very well to the spontaneity thing. I think it sometimes takes that, do you know, I'm going to just do things differently. I'm going to dress differently. I'm going to do a bit more health stuff. I'm going to, like me, I'm going to go swimming. I'm going to buy different toothpaste. I'm going to take a holiday on my own. Never done it before. I'm going to take a holiday, and I'm going to go, or I'm going to deliberately go to 3 pubs, one after the other. Never go out, never socialise. I'm going to go to 3 pubs. I'm going to buy an orange juice and lemonade at one. I might buy half a shandy at another, and I'm going to sit there. I'm going to drink with no intention of anything happening, but I'm just going to go there, and I'm just going to say to myself, "Look at me. I'm out. I'm not sitting at home in front of the telly doing this. I'm just out." And then with no expectations, best at never having those expectations. And then you come home and you just think, do you know what? I went out. You may have hated it. You may think, oh, golly, everyone's looking at me. I've never done this before. I don't feel comfortable and what have you. Take a book. Take a book. Or just don't look at your phone. I think the thing about the phone is it closes you off from the world. Just sit there and watch everybody else. Not suggesting that you do that particular thing, Mark. As I say, I'm not giving any advice or anything, but I'm just saying that sometimes being spontaneous and opening yourself up to new things can make you feel differently about yourself. But I'm interested in your comments on that. Are you somebody who's spontaneous? Would you do something different? Does it take a lot of effort to do that? Or is it just come naturally to you? Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch up with you next time.